The late pick five at Saratoga comprises races 8 through 12 for Saturday's card, Jim Dandy Day at Saratoga. And leg one is race 8. It's a maiden special weight at 100,000, run at 5.5 furlongs on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. And I'll say right off the bat, one of the things I noticed about this field is nobody is particularly sharp out of the gate. And so consequently, I would have to think this race will be run and won on the front end. Scarlet Poppy certainly makes a lot of sense for Wesley Ward, second off the layoff. This one was second all the way around the track behind a runaway Chad Brown winner, but kept on willingly. And for Wesley Ward, I think will probably break a little better with the second off the layoff, and certainly would make quite a bit of sense, going to be able to save a lot of ground on the rail. Tipple is an interesting prospect, and I'm going to go with a little value on top. Hopefully we can get some. Trained by Linda Rice. She's kind of okay with turf starters. But the thing about Tipple is the mare here, or the dam rather, has 3 out of 7 first-time starter winners and 2 stakes winners. And so this one should be very sharp coming out of the gate, and I think that's going to make a big difference in this race. So hopefully we can get some value, and I'm going to go with Tipple in the first leg. Arisu certainly makes a lot of sense for Chad Brown, coming off a long layoff. Hasn't run since Saratoga last year, but it acquitted herself pretty well. And we know Chad Brown with long layoffs does very well, and I'll expect with this one's debut for the year will be running. Probably going to be a little sharper out of the gate than she was at 2, so Arisu certainly makes a lot of sense. Satin Blue has a steady progression, getting better with every start. Only thing that concerns me a little bit, aside from coming off the pace, is that this one ran a career high figure last time, and it was significantly higher than her prior effort, so regression is possible. But it's really more the fact this one's coming off the pace that gives me a little bit of a concern here. But I think Satin Blue certainly has the goods and can get the job done if things break well. Then we're going to throw in Unhidden Gem. Alstall's Barn is really clicking right now. And the AEs you always got to watch out for, of course. And if this one draws in, looks to be one that may be able to factor. We'll just have to hope that this one can draw in, and then we probably get a pretty good price. So I think Tipple I'm going against just because the likelihood that this one's going to be very sharp out of the gate on the inside, saving ground. Certainly we'd like to have a nice price to start the pick 5, but certainly Scarlet Poppy and Arisu would probably be, to me, the top 2 other contenders, and followed by Satin Blue, and then Unhidden Gem will throw in for a little value, first-time starter. Leg 2 is the 9th race. It's an optional claimer for 80,000, non-winners at 2, lifetime run at a mile and a 16th on the inner turf for 3-year-olds and up. And I think this race being run on the inner turf definitely has some bearing on the results, and we'll explain why, of course. First and foremost, we'll look at West Hollywood. Running on the front end, weakened a little bit in the last race, but I think being by Brad Cox, Flavian Pratt in the irons, it's logical for this horse to improve, and being up amongst the leaders or on the front end is a really good place to be on the inner turf course. So I think logically West Hollywood definitely will be a contender here. Drunk on Saki will, I don't think is quite fast enough, but should give West Hollywood a significant amount of pressure on the front end. So I'm not sure that West Hollywood can get away from this group, but I'm not sure Drunk on Saki is quite fast enough to deal with this group. So the Manila wasn't kind of an okay effort, but weakened late in what wasn't a really great field. So West Hollywood does have a chance to take this one down wire to wire, so certainly a contender here. Main Beach is one of 2 Chad Browns in here, and the thing about this one is that he broke his maiden last time, and the thing that's a bit of a concern to me is the class level or the rating for that maiden race was his lowest of the three, while his class rating got improved, but it seems like the fields have had to get softer for him to get better. In other words, it's running against softer competition has bred a better rating for him, aside rather than this horse just naturally getting better. So that's a little bit of a concern for me moving up amongst winners. However, it's a Chad Brown, and I think we certainly have to take seriously here. Excuse me. Time Song and Tiffery are two that I think the inner turf is a bit of a problem for them. In the last race, where they both ran against Army Officer, Time Song I thought ran a really strong race. The only question I have is that in the turns, it did look like he was having a little bit of trouble banking. Had to be carried wide in the far turn at the top of the stretch, and might have just taken a little bit something away from him. So I think the outer turf would certainly be a better course for Time Song to run on. Still, he is coming into this race fresh, and he looks to me, has the look of a horse who is getting better. So I think he's certainly a contender here. But if this was on the Mellon turf course, I'd like it a lot better for him. Tiffery encountered some trouble last time, but was moving late. You got Brendan Walsh and Tyler Gaffleone. I'd be a little more excited about this horse again if it's on the outer turf, being a later runner. And secondly, he has had quite a few starts, and I'm not sure how much improvement he's got in him, but he is coming to this race fresh, and those are the type of connections that can certainly send him forward a little bit more in this field. But I think under might be a little more likely for Tiffery. I settled on risk tolerance. Number 12. He's the second Chad Brown in this group, coming off a long layoff. The thing I like more than anything, Chad Brown, of course, is very good with horses coming off a long layoff. They usually move forward. Secondly, this horse broke his maiden on the inner turf at Aqueduct, so again, managed the tight turns very well, and I think that should hold him in good stead here. So, if he does take that move forward, that is very likely, and an affinity for, excuse me, for the inner turf, I think puts risk tolerance in a really good position, and would be my primary win candidate in this spot. But I think there will be some worthy adversaries in West Hollywood and Time Song in particular, and we certainly can't discount Main Beach and then Tiffery to round it out if you want to spread a little further. 3 is the 10th race. It's the feature, the Jim Dandy Stakes. It's the preview or preparatory race for the Travers, run at 1 1/8, and it's for 3-year-olds only. And we take a look here, and most of these we already know. We've seen Fierceness, Seize the Gray, Sierra Leone more prominently, and then we've got Kenny McPeak's Gould's Gold, batting down for Bill Mott, who just won the Ohio Derby, and Pony Express, who is kind of a filler to me, and I don't expect much else. What can we say about this field? Speed, right? You got Pony Express, Fierceness, Seize the Gray, batting down, all going to be running up near the lead. As we know, at Saratoga, that's a pretty good place to be. To me, looking at this race, there's basically one of two ways to go, isn't there? You're going to take Sierra Leone, or you take Fierceness, in my opinion. I'm going with Fierceness. I mean, generally at Saratoga, these races or route races are run up on the front end, and Fierceness, certainly, there's no point in rehashing what we all know. He's got the good race, bad race pattern, that's true, and he is due for a good race. That's not necessarily why I'm going with him. I just think he's had an extended layoff now. I think he's had plenty of time. Maybe it was expecting a little too much of him to run that as frequently as he did back on the Derby Trail. I don't know. But I would rather have a horse who, if on his A game, is not going to be bothered by any of the other speed in this race. He's not going to be bothered by Seize the Gray or Batten Down or Pony Express. Johnny Velasquez in the irons, I think he's just going to put him right off whoever decides to take the lead. He may even be on the lead, and then it's game over. That's my opinion. Horses that potentially could upset the apple cart. Sierra Leone could win this race, but to me, in a lot of respects, he's more untrustworthy than Fierceness, because he runs every time, and he runs his race every time, and he does the same thing every time. He lugs in, and it costs him the race, and it costs other horses places in the race. He's a fine horse. He could win this if some kind of a pace battle sets up, but do you see any one of these really wanting to gun it right from the get-go to run 45 and 109 fractions? I don't think so. I think they're all going to want to keep it pretty soft, and that's probably where it will be. And if that's the case and Fierceness is in good form, he wins this race. That's it. Gould's Gold, just to talk about a couple of Gould's Gold to me is interesting. It's a Kenny McPeak who, a lot of his horses take a while to develop. This one is coming off a career high, runs from off the pace, and probably the running style is the thing that I think hurts the most in this field, particularly being a small one. But he's in good form, and if you're looking just for a horse, for a C horse other than A or B, he's one maybe you want to think about. Seize the Gray, I would think for the coach, this would be a race he'd be more likely to have a chance to win than the Travers, in my opinion. Will be up near the leaders and tactically will be in a good position. So if you want to presume that Fierceness is not going to run well, then maybe Seize the Gray makes some sense because tactically he'll be in good position. But again, I'm just going to go with Fierceness. I mean, you need a single in this sequence. The first two races we've looked at so far are spreads, so we're going to need to shorten our ticket somewhere. Why not do it here? I'm going with Fierceness and let the chips fall where they may in the Jim Dandy. The fourth leg is the 11th race. It's an allowance N1X, non-2 lifetime for $95,000. Run at a mile and a 16th on the outer turf, the Mellon course, for 3-year-olds and up New York breds. And this is a pretty contentious field, I would say. Just looking at them, Gem Mint 10 has been more of a horse who rates, but has shown the ability to go to the lead, and particularly in the outer turf has had some nice efforts. And for Ray Handel, the barn is going very well right now, and he's had a couple of overlays that have come in, so I don't want to discount him. He's always pretty dangerous. So Gem Mint 10, speed figure-wise, has a little bit of an edge over some of the others, and getting on the front end shouldn't get a whole lot of challenge from Rabaha, but there are a few to keep him honest. But I don't know that anybody who's rating going to be right up near the pace is a real serious threat to overtake him. So coming in second off the layoff might be a pretty good spot for Gem Mint 10, so we definitely want to use. Clear Conscience is another one who has had good success on the outer turf and rated pretty well in his last start. Ran into a runaway or a really strong front end winner in Liar's Poker, but did close pretty well. Had a sustained drive in the stretch. Wasn't enough. I think he's one of the better candidates in here, but I wasn't overly impressed. I seemed to be more of a grinder than a horse who can have that push-button type of acceleration, but is certainly one of the better ones and one to consider. Willing to Risk It All has had some good success as well on the outer turf, and hasn't been running terribly well lately. But I have a feeling getting back on at the Spa on this surface may ignite something in a horse who has ran some very competitive races earlier in his career. So as kind of a wild card, I want to throw Willing to Risk It All in there. Topic Changer has been on in steeplechases primarily until Mike Maker's got a hold of him. We know what Mike Maker can do stretching a horse out. The last race at a mile and an eighth was probably a little too far back, but did have some interest late closing. And the cutback, this might be a little too short for a Topic Changer, but again, relying on Mike Maker to get the most out of this horse. And in this field, being a late runner may be able to factor. Not as confident as I am in Easy Roll, who we'll now talk about. Easy Roll is coming in second off the layup for Tom Morley, a barn that's been going well right now and does very well in the New York circuit. This one displayed a nice turn of foot in the last race, coming late. Going on the outer turf again, I think is significant, particularly being a late runner. And had the highest class rating of any of the horses in this race, and I think is eligible to take another step forward. And so with the amount of horses who will be pressing Gem Mint 10 to keep him honest, it might evolve into a decent pace for Easy Roll to run to. He has done well with moderate pace prior. It's not necessarily pace dependent, and again, I think really getting to the outer turf is really going to be a bonus. So to me, the one who has the best form moving into this race would be Easy Roll, and but it is a fairly contentious affair, and certainly like many in the races in this sequence, we got to cover some bases here. But I do like Easy Roll to take this one down. Final leg of the late pick 5 is the 12th race. It's a maiden special weight for $90,000, run at a mile on the inner turf for 3-year-olds and up, New York breds. And there's going to be plenty of speed in this race. Assisi is the lone confirmed front runner. However, should get plenty of traffic from She's a Natural, Autumn, and North End Lady. Autumn and North End Lady have been on the front end most recently, and I think that's where they try to do their best work. Of those, I think Autumn is the one I like the most. Can handle the inner turf, and the problem with this horse is just always somebody seems to be better. This one's been snake bit, has run a lot of good races. Just always seems to be somebody else. This may be the case here. With all this early speed, there is probably going to be a closer but excuse me. Form-wise, I think Autumn is a good fit, and if anybody is going to take him all the way, I think that he'd be it. Then we have a couple, looking more at the later runners. Summer World probably is my pick to win this, and he comes out of the best race. I just missed behind Island Fox in the last one, and displayed a really good kick. It was the best rated maiden race, and I think second off the layup, this one is logical to move forward with another good race. So Summer World has a good closing kick, one of the better ones amongst the group. Miss City Girl didn't run it quite as good a maiden race last time, but also did display a nice closing kick, and I think is one to certainly consider. Summer World looks to me like one more logical to take this down, just has a little more on the top end. And then we're going to throw in a little bit naughty for Danny Gargan. This one just kind of has that look of a horse who's going to surprise, and I can't put it any other way. Ran in the same race as Summer World last time. Had a little bit of traffic, but coming in second off the layup for Danny Gargan, I got a feeling this one's going to move forward. It's a pretty good angle for Danny, and so you're likely going to get a little bit of value, and certainly we want to have as much as we can get in this sequence. So we'll throw in a little bit naughty. So if we take a look at our ticket, we're going to go in the first leg 1, 2, 4, and 6. In the second leg, we're going to go 4, 8, and 12. And then we're going to single in the Jim Dandy Fierceness. We're just going to hitch our wagon to that star, and if it comes through, then we should be in really good shape for the final 2 legs, where we're going to go 1, 4, 9, and 10, and then 1, 4, 5, and 9. And this is a pretty tough sequence. You literally could spread in every single race, but for a ticket economy, I think the Jim Dandy is the most logical spot. I think where we can single the maidens. It's obviously awful tough to do that. So it's a $96 ticket on a 50-cent base, but we do have some value built into this. So hopefully we can get a price or two home and make for a good ROI. I hope this helps you with your own wagering strategy, and I wish you the best of luck as always. We'll have continuing coverage all the way throughout the Saratoga meet, and I hope you'll stay tuned for that. So talk to you soon, and until then, be well.